What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Joe Smooth coming at you with another video. Now, this is the Bleach one-shot discussion slash review kind of thing. And without wasting any time, I'm gonna get right into it. So, we start off with this little goldfish kind of story here about the goldfish where one was bigger than the other, and then the bigger one died, and then the smaller one seemed lonely, but then it actually grew bigger, and the caption ended with, "I'm glad that the bigger one died," or paraphrasing it. Now, I'm not too sure what that's all about, but getting to the actual chapter itself, I believe the chapter, in my opinion, the chapter is split into two parts. The introduction slash slice of life aspect that we were sort of expecting from the one shot, at least that's what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting this one shot to become something that would be, too big, or that would become, an entire arc, as we've seen was going to end up being. I was expecting it to be something more of like a follow-up on the characters that we've seen, and things of that nature. It's been, as we see, I thought it was going to be 10 years originally, but it's been 12 years since the 1,000-year Blood War arc. So about 13 and a half to 14 years since the beginning of Bleach, where Ichigo started as 15 and all of that. And I thought it was just going to be a follow-up on, Ichigo as an adult, what's going on with him, what's going on with Orihime, what's going on with Kazui, maybe Uryu and Chad, maybe the friends at in the living world, and then of course there would be a follow-up on what's going on with the Gotei and everything like that on that end. Even though for the Gotei, 10 to 12 years is like nothing, but for the people in the living world, 10 years is a good chunk of our lives. It's 10 years is pretty sizable. But anyways, the second half of the chapter is where things get really real. It's where things start popping off. But so we see Kazui, and I'm gonna get back to him later on in the discussion portion. But nothing too crazy is going on there. We see that he's going on with Kon, and he's going around visiting souls. Now, unlike Ichigo, when Ichigo was a teen and visiting souls and talking to them and things like that, Kazui actually has the ability to help them. But what I did note is that he's not performing the Konso on them. So is Kazui really a Shinigami? Perhaps his power is something more akin to a Fullbring, but I'll get into that later. But the reason why I say that is because Kazui, his power, the way he wears it, reminds me of Ichigo's second incomplete Fullbring. The form where he was clad in his power, and it was shrouded around him like the Shinigami Shihakusho. It reminds me of that, and there's also the fact that he's not performing the Konso on souls. Instead, he's going through this roundabout method and he's showing them this shrine and then the portal method to open a portal to get to the Soul Society, and we'll get to that later as well. But his power definitely doesn't seem Quincy related. It looks Shinigami related visually, but is it really Shinigami related? And then, yeah, we don't see anything of relation to hollow power. So it looks like the most likely answer is a Fullbring, but we don't know for sure. I'll get back to that another time, though. On the Gotei side, on the Gotei side of things, we see Ichika, and that she's training with, Ikkaku, and that's funny because Renji actually, based on some dialogue we've seen in the Soul Society and maybe the Aranka arc as well, Renji sort of looked up to Ikkaku as like a superior and like his sort of like upperclassman. So it's funny to see. We know that Renji far surpassed Ikkaku by now, but it's funny to see that Renji's daughter is now looking up to Ikkaku as a sort of master. But we see little updates on Yumachika, Renji, Rukia, Mayuri, Toshiro, Tetsuzaemon, Isane, Shinji, Momo, and many, 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 many more of the Shinigami, the Gotei 13 members that we know and love. And on Ichigo's end, we see that Keigo, Mizuriro, and we see that Ichigo's still hanging out with his friends. Now, I'm not sure if that was Uryu there in the background or if that was someone else or something like that, but no sign of Chad, unfortunately, unless I wasn't looking hard enough. No sign of Chad, and then Orihime was at home doing laundry, which prompted Rukia to have a whole comment on that. But we find out that technology in the Soul Society has been upgraded due to Urahara and Mayuri's combined efforts, and I'm sure Squad 12 had a lot to do with it, either not to discredit the rest of the members of Squad 12, but we see there's touchscreen phones, smartphones in there now with face cam and basically modern technology. Now, what's funny is that, Bleach, I believe it takes place in 2001 or 2002, when the original beginning of the series starts. So 12 years later, it would actually be 2014. So even with this, they're still in the past compared to us. But Kubo's just updating it, making Bleach modern with the times, sort of like what Naruto did with Boruto. But it's less jarring in Bleach because it's like a real progression that we can actually measure, unlike Naruto's unknown time frame. Not to bash Naruto or Boruto. Boruto already gets enough bashing as is. Moving on though, we see a new Lieutenant Atao, I believe we pronounce his name. I'm not sure. Ata, who seems to be mute. And we also hear about this ritual that Shinigami perform on captains who die, and that they've already performed this ritual on Yamamoto and Unohana, and they're preparing to do it on Ukitake. And the reason why we know this is 12 years after a 1,000-year Blood War arc is because this ritual is specifically done 12 years after a captain dies. And why is it 12 years? I'm not sure, but maybe we'll get into this later. The lieutenants end up... Alright, so this is where what I consider the second half of the chapter to be. The first half was basically us catching up with everyone, seeing what's going on with things on the living world's end and on the Gote's end. But I believe this is where the second half picks up, which is when the lieutenants and Ichigo, well, Ichigo's already in the living world, but where the lieutenants come to the living world. So basically, we have the lieutenants gathering, and we see the other lieutenant from Lisa's squad. We see Yu, and Yu seems like a Gen Z type person, and she's a Gyaru, or is that how you pronounce it? Gyaru from Japan, which I only seen like jokes and memes. I don't know if it's really a prevalent thing that happens often in Japan. And Ichigo even said that's not a thing that really happens here in Japan. So it might be like one of those things where the media blows it up. But nah, that's not too important. She's basically like the new girl meme. One of the two new lieutenants that we see. But here's where things get pretty wild. So Ichika, she snuck into the living world as well after hearing what the other lieutenants and captains were doing concerning this ritual thing. She was spying on her father and Mayuri's conversation, and believe it or not, she believes that Mayuri is super cool, which I believe is a funny thing. But anyways, she's able to see this mysterious thing behind Ichigo, Renji, and the other lieutenants, and this being attacks Renji and absolutely sends him flying. Now I'll get into the power scaling aspect of things maybe in a different video, but if this is actual legit and not a fluke, which it doesn't appear to be a fluke, the power scale of this arc is increasing Bleach beyond what it was before, at least for the mid-high tiers. Now, I was going to go on a tangent about the power scaling between 1,000-Year Blood War arc, but I'll get into that for another video. So, we see that we get to see what the new lieutenants, can do. Atao, he uses a Shikai, and what's interesting about him is that, Shikai are supposed to have vocal commands, right? You speak out your Shikai's call out, and then you perform your Shikai release, and you use your abilities. Atao is mute. Apparently, he's mute. So what does he do instead of calling out his Shikai? He seems to draw his call out command onto his blade with his finger, trace it out, and it still works. And now his ability seems to be origami related, and it seems to have a bunch of different applications based on him just being able to say Hawk, Taka. And from there, he was able to create a bunch of hawks. And these hawks seem to zoom past. And when they zoom past, it seems to vaporize his hollows. Like, it doesn't leave skin, flesh, internal organs, just bone. Well, there's skin on the arms and, at the lower waist. But the place where the birds hit seems to just vaporize. Now, what did he do? I don't know. But that ability seemed pretty darn broken to me. If we get an explanation, maybe it'll be more balanced out, or maybe the man's just OP, who knows. And then we also see Yu, she's able to do something. And now what's interesting about her is that we didn't see her release her Zanpakuto or anything like that. We didn't even see her carrying a Zanpakuto when she was with Ichigo. But what she does have is these strange painted nails, which seem to have a bear motif to it. It seems to have a bear paws, which remind me of Kuma from One Piece with the way the paws are, and bear teeth. Now, is this somehow related to her Zanpakuto? Is she already in Shikai? Is it sort of an add-on to her actual physical body? Or is it something else that's not necessarily tied to Zanpakuto already? It doesn't seem like Kido, but it's possible that there's some other kind of special abilities that Kubo could be putting into play here. And we also see something like that with, well, before I get to him, we see her do a claw chomp, and the hollows, not hollow, the hell monster's head just poof, like it gets bit off, but it looks like it explodes as well. It's very strange. And then as for Overkill, she just does it again to his groin and just completely mutilates its groin. Geez, that's something I never thought I'd say in a shonen video. Moving on. So we see that the two new lieutenants aren't fodder. No offense to Isane's sister, Kione, but she got kind of snuck in. Do you guys hear the helicopter? Sorry about that. No offense to Kione, she's the new Squad 4 lieutenant. She's the former Squad 13 third seat, tied with, shared in position with the other guy. I forgot his name, sorry. But if you remember who I'm talking about, she kind of got snuck from behind and stabbed through with a nail of one of the hell monsters and basically taken out of commission. Which is unfortunate since she's the healer of the group. She's supposed to be the best healer, being, you know, Squad 4 and all that. I don't remember if we ever saw her healing capabilities before that. I wonder if she just became Squad 4 Lieutenant because her older sister's a captain and she would be the best support for her. Or if she's very skilled in the medical procedures. But I guess that after... Well, we only seen that Isane was a captain 10 years after the end. So she might have been captain for longer than that since Rukia was the newest captain. But she's had at least 2 years as the Squad 4 Lieutenant. So she should have picked up on some very decent healing keto from that point on, but you know, the healer got taken out, so what does it matter anyways? So we see the other lieutenants doing their thing as well. Ikaku takes out some without even releasing his blade. We see that Shuhei and Omaida, they're doing their thing, trying to fight some. I don't remember if they actually got any or not. We see Akon. I believe this is the first time we ever seen Akon in a combat situation. So Akon got promoted to the Squad 12 Lieutenant because, you know, Nemu, she's no longer with us in the original format at least, but we have a new version of Nemu that is no longer the Lieutenant. She's a completely reset being, you could say. But Akon is now the Lieutenant of Squad 12, and he actually has some combat feats. Now, what did he do? This didn't seem to be like a Zanpakuto release, and it also didn't seem to be a Keto. So, did he use some science tools in the middle of a fight, similar to how Kisuke and Mayuri do it? Though, Kisuke, he's more of a troll tactician with his science combat. He doesn't, like, do anything major for major advantages. He more so plays around and goes for misdirection and tricks and supplementary. Mayuri, he's more heavily invested in using the science for actual combat, utilizing drugs, poisons, and many different things, even upgrading his Zanpakuto. Now, Akon, what he does seems to be completely different. He calls out a set of numbers, says a certain phrase, and then boom. It seems like acid melted away the legs of one of the hell monsters. And then, as he took that one down, we get to see Izuru once again. And Izuru hits one of the hell monsters 7 times, drops it to the ground, and does his signature decapitation with the decapitation edge of his blade. Now, is this a callback to when he fought Redder? The hollow was a bird-type hollow when he struck it down and then executed it after its wings were basically rendered ineffective. Anyways, moving on from that, we see that all the hell monsters are basically defeated. Ichigo, I forgot to mention that Ichigo casually cut one's arm off, the one that hit Renji. And what's interesting enough is that Ichigo used his left hand to cut it off, and Ichigo usually uses his right hand. And we'll get into Ichigo later because we see his Zanpakuto evolve yet again, or rather it stayed consistent with what happened at the end of the 1000-Year Blood War arc, rather than reverting to its dual blade True Shikai or even the original single blade Outer Shell Bankai that we've seen. But moving on from that, Renji prepares to join the fray, but a chain from hell shoots out and wraps around his leg, holding him in place. And then from there we see Sailaporo Grans, the former 8th and 0th Espada. For those of you that know about the Spirits Are Forever With You novel, you know about that. And I find it interesting that Kubo chose Sailaporo for this. He chose the true secret strongest Espada, at least before the time skip, because between what happened with Grimjo, Nell as a former... Well, they're all former Espada, but between what happened with Grimjo, Nell, and Halabel, who are for sure the strongest Espada now. That could be dethroned by Sailaporo, but I'm talking about in the scope of what happened before the 1000-Year Blood War arc. It actually turns out that Sailaporo Grans was the true strongest Espada. He was the former 0th Espada. And I believe, don't quote me on this because I'm going off of memory, I believe they said that Sailaporo, when he was fused with his brother Ilfort Grants, They were one being originally, and they were the zeroth Espada Cien Grants or something like that. And if I remember correctly, Cien Grants at 33% was as strong as Zero Espada Yami, however you want to pronounce it. And we know from the data books and other confirmation in the story that Yami is stronger than second release Okuiora. And I'm getting into power scaling, and I did not mean to do that here. I'll get into that another time. But we know from the that Sailaporo is sort of a special Arrancar in a sense, a special Espada, because similar to Grimjaw, Halibel, and Nell, who appeared in 1,000 Year Blood War and Can't Fight Your Own World, Sal is actually the only other Espada who had an appearance or a pseudo appearance after the Arrancar arc. The others either died or just didn't appear. Well, all the Espada basically, besides the two I mentioned, died. Aranero died. Sile died, but he actually made more appearances. Somari died. Grimjaw's alive, and we see him in the 1,000 Year Blood War and Can't Fight Your Own World. Noritora died. Okuiora died. Halibel survived. We see her later on. Gargan died. Stark died. Yami died. We get to see some of the Primera Espada. Privaron Espada. We see them again. And the one that actually, ironically, the Privaron Espada that didn't die, we don't see him again, which is weird. But that's going off on another tangent. Let me get back on track. So it's interesting that we see Zyle again, and what's funny is that he was originally tied into the Hellverse movie and that Hellverse special chapter that Kubo made. So Zalaporo Grands and Hell connected. Zalaporo Grands and being a special Arrancar that makes appearances even in the novels before Can't Fight Your Own World, also special. So I find it interesting that Kubo's deciding to use him again in the actual manga material. Now, Spirits Are Forever With You, I believe, is actually canon as well. Hellverse, that's more iffy. Hellverse and other movies are not exactly canon, besides potentially Memories of Nobody, with elements from Memories of Nobody actually being used in the canon manga. And then we have a situation where it might be elements from the Hellverse movie being used in the canon manga, but flipped around with Kubo's original vision, because we have the we know what Kubo's quotes are regarding Hellverses. Anyways, now finally for real, off of that tangent, Sala ends up piercing Renji in various areas with these chains of hell as he's trying to kill Ichika. But of course, Renji's doing everything he can to kill Ichika. Mind you, Renji's extremely powerful here. Keep in mind, this is the same dude that no-sold Master Masculine's attacks when Master Masculine was able to fold Bankai visored captains without even going Volstendig. And then he hit Renji with an attack that amped his power by 10 times without even going Volstendig yet. And Renji just caught it with his bare hand and boom, elbowed it down. Took no damage. But here, Zalapolo Grounds is injuring him with health. I said I wouldn't get into power scaling, I just keep doing it. It's a habit. The portal that Zal appeared from, though, looks very, very, very similar or exactly the same as the one that Kazui opened to show the man or the 15-year-old soul to. Now, this ties into what I was saying with Kazui not exactly performing the console or sending souls to the Soul Society directly, but instead of going through a roundabout way of using portals. Has Kazui accidentally been sending souls to hell by accident? Because we know that Zyle said that the gates of hell, or at least hell, is able to be opened from... Hell is able to be opened up easier now because the main factors that were holding back hell, Aizen and Yuha, are dead now. And now I did not know that Aizen was holding back the gates of hell from opening upon the realms. And I did not know that Yuha Bak was holding back the gates of hell from opening upon the living realms. Not just the living realms, but the realms in general. But this goes into another thing. Sorry if my thoughts are all over the place. I don't have a specific script. I have bullet points that keep me focused and on topic, which I'm referring to, but I don't exactly have a full written out script because I seem to do very, very badly with those, and it feels very unnatural. But here's another point that I just thought of. What is in hell that Sosuke Aizen, the man who believed that he can overthrow the Soul King, and Yuha Bak, the man that did overthrow, and actually became the Soul King. Zalaporo said that both of these figures were holding back the mouth of hell from opening and unleashing itself upon the realms. Now, what is in hell that these two godly beings within the Bleachverse were doing to what's in hell that these two were like, we can't let this be opened up? Now, I believe that's going to tie into this arc, as this arc, Shonen typical thing is that each threat is more powerful than the last. And now Aizen, at first everyone was like, Aizen is like godly powerful. Who could he be an even greater threat than him? Then we got the Fullbringer arc, and people are like, the Fullbringers aren't really more threats than Aizen. Now, it depends on how you see threats, but in the grand scheme of things, in like a realm-wide spectrum of Bleach, no. But as direct threats in terms of power, maybe there's a case there, but that's a video for another time. But definitely, the Quincy's and Yuha Bak, definitely a bigger threat than Aizen was in the Fate Karakura Town arc, even at his peak, as we've seen an even stronger version of Aizen struggle and eventually lose to Yuha. Though he didn't die, he did kind of lose there, even when using his Kyoka so it gets to an advance before Yuha even activated the Almighty, but that's going to a lot of different things there. But with the progression of things being stronger than the last, right, and hell being its own separate thing, even the Can't Figure Own World novels, when the Soul King did what he did and split the realms, and forgive me if I'm giving you knowledge that you're unaware of, but if the Soul King was able to split and basically created the Bleach universe as we know it, he created the living world as we know it, and the Soul Society as we know it by splitting the realms that were originally one. He created Wako Mundo as we know it. He created the Garganta as we know it. He created the Dangai as we know it. And all the Kogyoku in between. He may or may not have created those. But if there's one thing, it's hell. And hell was always there. Before the Soul King did anything, hell was always there. So the Soul King technically has no relation to hell. So it's possible that there can be beings within hell that are even more of a threat than the Soul King, as insane as that sounds. And given how the power progression of Shonen goes, with each arc's villain being more grand and more powerful and more dangerous than the last, it's very, very, very possible that this hell threat can be more of a threat than even the Soul King Yuha Bak himself. And if that is true, this arc is going to be insane. But I'll get into the power scaling side of things in another video, as I said before. Let me wrap up with this here. So we see that Sile, he's got a whole new upgrade based on this hell, whatever's going on with him. Now, Cien Grans, he was already powerful in his own right. He was able to make Yami look weak, and Yami was stronger than all that. Spada confirmed in the manga and confirmed in the data books, the guidebooks, which are narrator supplemental material. So it's not an opinion, it's basically fact that Yami was stronger than Stark and Yami was stronger than Okuyora in terms of Ryatsu and raw power. Cien at 30, power scaling again. Oh my gosh, I can't stop it. But we know that this Sile got a major upgrade even compared to that form. And is this because of the hell energy, or has he been doing training within these 12 years since he 13 and a half to 14 years since he died, actually, since he died pre-time skip? Or is this hell energy that much of an amp? Now, he's able to match Renji, and though Renji was trying to protect his daughter, and we see him kind of swapping hands with Ichigo, but Ichigo's not really trying. As we know, Ichigo, he tends to, scale back to his, well, at least post 1000-Year Blood War arc when he was fighting with the Stern Reavers and things like that. We see Ichigo's not really going all out. He fights on the level of his opponents or with some superiority too, but he's not trying to take them out instantly. So he's kind of hearing Sile out as he explains what's going on between the captains and what's going on in hell and all this crazy, crazy nonsense that's happening. But, it gets crazy because we get some major drops about what was going on. We hear that the captains are actually the captains that, okay, first we get into this measurement system of energy that we call spirit levels and things like that. And then these spirit levels with phosphoplasms and Will-O-Wisp in the fan translations, phosphoplasms in the Viz translation, and then we have Ray in the fan translation and Spirit class in the Viz translation. We see that these things are sort of... Alright, let me just get into it. So, with the Spirit class, regular Shinigami unseated officers have a rank of 20. It goes by tiering system rather than a power level number system. So we got tier 20, rank 20, regular unseated officers. We have lieutenants at class 4 or 5, generally speaking. And then we have captains at tier 3 and up. And it turns out that beings of tier 3 and up actually don't return to the Soul Society when they die. And by returning to the Soul Society when they die, think of it as when living beings in our real world die, our bodies decompose and return to the soil, right? Spiritual beings, when they die, they do the Reishi. Reishi beings are basically just spirit particle version of Kishi. Kishi is what they call living world matter. So for us, that's cells, atoms, molecules, subatomic particles, quarks, strings, getting into the quantum things, all that stuff. And then Reishi is just the spirit version of that. It's literally the same thing, just spirit. Think of it as Ichigo in his body. Kishi, substitute badge or soul candy, pops out his body. Kishi, same exact thing, just made of a different matter. Like his Shinigami body and his human body, exactly the same, just made of different kinds of matter. So that's the same kind of dynamic between Kishi matter, human matter, Kishi matter, Reishi matter. So when they die, they return into energy, basically. They return into Reishi that goes into the ground or the atmosphere, as we see when hollows die. They turn to Reishi, disperse into the atmosphere. People with a rank of 3 and up can't do that. Their spiritual energy is too dense and too powerful. So they do this ritual in order to send them off and to return them to the ground. But it actually turns out that they've been sending them to hell instead. Now, there's a lot of implications that can be made from this. Like, why are they going to hell? Like, why is it 12 years later? Why is it not instant? Are these guys, do they have their spirits wandering in limbo first and then they're sent to hell? Because it's 12, it's not like it's instant. This is a 12-year wait. So what's happening to their metaphysical souls, the souls that, travel through the soul cycle, not like the Reishi souls, the metaphysical souls that Shinigami purify or Quincy destroy? What happens to those in those 12 years? Are they in like this sort of purgatory? Are they still around like literal ghosts? Are they in hell already? But that wouldn't make sense if they're already in hell. And then we see that they've already sent Unohana and Yamamoto down there, but now they're preparing to do it to Ukitake today. But what happens is when they kill the hell monsters in the living world, the ritual is processed that you need to kill hollows in front of the captain's grave site. I don't know what they kill it in front of specifically, but the captain's supposed to quote unquote see this phenomena happening. Now when they see it happening, then their souls get transported. But we see that Ichigo's substitute badge still somehow has a connection to Ukitake, which I find strange because Ukitake is dead. Like dead, not just soul dead, but like gone. So where is he in the soul cycle? Where is he seeing this? How does he still have a connection to the substitute Shinigami badge, the combat pass? How is he still seeing this? But through whatever means happens, he does see them kill all the hell monsters, and then that triggers the ritual. And him in hell, we see his Shikai blade, but enlarged, like the hell blades from the what happened with a Shrieker way back. We see that happen. Stabs Zalaporo, and this Ukitake's actual Shikai, and then it drags him back to hell. And basically, that's where the chapter ends. Where it literally ends, where we see Kazui running down the street, and then we get the Bleach new breathes from hell. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to say new breaths from hell, but it spells breathe, so I'll say how it is. Breeze, even in the Viz translation. And then we see the hell butterflies floating around Kazui, who's smiling and pretty unaware of anything that's going on. So, guys, for now, this video has gone on long enough. I'll end it here, and I'll get you with the discussion and the power scaling aspect soon. So, it's your boy Joe Smooth out. Stay smooth. Peace.